in one sense, it's more difficult to engage atheists with the gospel, but in another sense, it isn't. First of all, you ask what kind of atheist. An awful lot of atheists I know have no idea what the gospel is. If someone says to me, I don't believe in God, I'll say, I don't suddenly give them the 5 theistic proofs. What I do is I say, okay, tell me about this God you don't believe in. What? What? Tell me about this God you don't believe in. Well, I don't believe in a God who does this, and a God who does that, and a God... I go, well, that's amazing. I don't believe in that God either. Now let me tell you about the God I do believe in. That may seem to be a very clever answer and a bit silly, but in actual fact is a very important answer. Then they will say things like, I don't believe in God because there's not evidence and so on. So one of the things you're doing, and generally do this quite gently, is you're deconstructing the framework in which they think. And you're trying to get them to think about, maybe, just maybe, you might be wrong. Then I think that's the negative side. The positive side is that you're telling people about the God of the Bible. And I would simply say to I remember, I've got so many examples, but let me give you one example. I had done an outreach event in a library of all places in Brighton. 70% of the audience were atheists, and afterwards a particularly aggressive young man came up to me and said, I don't like you, I didn't like your talk. But, he said, I loved your questions and answers, and now you're messing with my head. And I said to him, okay, what do you want to say? It's a bit aggressive, but... And he's surrounded, he had lots of friends with him, and he said, the Bible's rubbish. That's quite a remarkable statement. I said, have you read the Bible? No. I said, okay. You do understand that's not the most intelligent statement in the world you've made right now. You've said that something's rubbish. Oh, no, but I've read about it. I said, not good enough. Not good enough. If you're claiming to make a statement like that, go read it. I said, I've read your books. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, I've read Richard Dawkins' The God Delusion, and stuff like that. So I said, if you're going to say the Bible's rubbish, you have to read it for yourself. Now, some atheists, of course, will say that they've done that and so on, but most haven't. And he thought about it and he said, okay, no, that's fair enough. He said, do you want to go for a drink? So we went off and I thought, okay, I'm heading off to this pub in Brighton with 20 atheists. Hope, we'll see how things go. But we had a good time. 2 nights later, he turned up at church. And then a month later, he wrote me, and I couldn't believe it. He said, Dave, started reading the Bible, and he was doing it all wrong. He said, reading from the King James Version, I started at Genesis. He says, I'm finding it hard going. He says, I've got to Genesis chapter 3, but it's really beginning to scare me because it's starting to make sense. And I think that when we're saying, how do we engage atheists with the gospel, we tell them the gospel, we live the gospel, and we just have to be incredibly, incredibly patient. Most of the atheists I know actually don't know the gospel. So tell them and take your time and see where it goes. I've seen atheists converted in another book, the Dawkins Letters. The latest edition of that has a whole chapter which is a man saying, I was converted through Richard Dawkins, who came on a series of arguments on Dawkins' websites that I had, and he was converted through reading that. So who knows? God can work in the most amazing ways.